NASCAR racing fans. This is the NASCAR Nitro Series, and we got the modifieds at Texas Motor Speedway for the Chiefs and Cowboys Suck 400. You are not going to want to miss this one. 36 modified cars. Well, most of them are modified. The largest modified field in Nitro Series history. The treacherous outer turn took out a lot of good stocks, and we had a finish that came down to the wire on the very last lap. Let's get down to the track and see if this one plays out the same way. On the pole, we have Gale Force, the number 57 Dodge Charger, getting pushed by another Dodge Charger in William from Uncle Elvis Racing. In the outer lane, we have a couple of the heaviest cars in the series. Misty G, who got a podium in the Daytona 500, followed by Sparky Racer. The number 2 of Big Play, one of the guest drivers for today's race, and Sloppy Bear will be starting in the back. The cars are down the track, and caution's already out for an El Reco. Very first lap, we got 2 solo DNFs to kick it off. That's Sparky Racer and Sloppy Bear. Big Play meanders across the line, waving his silver football trophy out the window to the fans. More concerned about showing that off, since it's the first lap and everybody was crashing in front of him anyway. So now the gates are down for lap number 2. Gale Force, William, and Misty G have all shown some speed so far in the series, and they're spread out by about a car length each heading into the turn. Williams trying to take second from Misty G here. It's going to be a pretty tight one to the finish, and Misty G retains the second spot. No change there on the second lap. Now the gates are down for lap number 3. Gale Force has been really hard to pass on this track so far, and it really helps that William and Misty G have been fighting over second place in these first 2 laps, but now it looks like Misty G's got a decisive advantage over William. The pack tightens in the turn, but Gale Force has looked unstoppable so far. Just 1 lap to go. They cross the finish line all in a row on the outside, and Gale Force has looked unstoppable. Just 1 lap till her first main event appearance. And now the gates are down, the cars are off, and Gale Force is a half a car length before even getting off of the ramp. And now they're spread out about a car length each. There hasn't been much shuffling between positions. The gap gets wider as they head into the turn, but it bunches up. Misty G gets a huge surge coming off the outside. Gale Force throws a block, and we're going to bring that to the slow motion replay. You can see right here where it starts. Misty G gets a great run out of the outside turn. And there is no way Gale Force wins this if she doesn't turn sideways and throw that block. Misty G barely edges out William for second place. And now Gale Force brings the Barora Bangers their very first main event appearance. And now it is time for segment 2. We have Clyde and Po' Boy on the front row, followed by Gavin McSplage and Szechuan Broccoli, one of our guest drivers today. And in the back row, Gray, whose car is red, and Jay Bo had some trouble in qualifying, just like Gavin McSplage and Po' Boy there. And he'll have an advantage over those 2 in the next lap. They both recover, but they'll be starting the next lap in the back. You see Gavin McSplage there actually cuts over from the inside lane and crashes. That is what he's known for on Lord Shank's channel. Now it is time for lap 2, and the front 2 lanes peel away from the back. They must have gotten a bit of damage in that crash. It looks like Po' Boy jumped the splitter and is holding Gavin McSplage back. And now it's Jay Bo's turn to go flying, and looks like he recovers. Oh no, he doesn't. That is an El Reco. What a shame for Jay Bo. He was looking good there before the crash. Bunched up in front of him, lots of room to pass, but it's going to be a horrible points day for him. Instead, and halfway through the segment, that back row is such a disadvantage due to the weight of these cars. And now Gray is challenging for the lead. Gray is challenging Clyde for the lead. And Clyde pulls away using his massive weight advantage coming out of the turn, but 1 lap to go, and it's going to be Gavin McSplage and Gray starting in 3rd and 2nd, looking to redeem their bad points days last week. Both of them, I believe, DNF. In the background, you can see Jerry Jones's truck, and it looks like somebody went underneath the track. Got to see if we can caught that on camera, but Po' Boy went under the track. This happened in the stock race, too. Yep, he's there on his wheel, so he'll be starting in last place. And the gates are down. It is Clyde and Gray coming off the track in 1st and 2nd. Po' Boy had a much better launch, and Gavin McSplage just smokes the 26 car, and looks like he might challenge for 2nd place, but these 2 front cars are pulling away heading into the turn, and Gray gets a little squirrely there. Clyde slides across the finish line. He'll be going to the main event. And Gray to the seconds race. Now it's time for segment number 3. We have an all-Australian front row of Harry Hoon and Gaza. Behind them are a pair of Ford Thunderbirds from Racing Champions. That is Elton Sawyer and Hurts So Good. And behind them, the G-Force Racing teammates of Giorgio and Christie. Both of them had a DNF in qualifying and had to race in with the field fillers. And it looks like neither of them got to the finish line. Let's see where they are on the track. There's Jerry Jones's truck. If you hit it, you get an automatic ticket to the main event. Let's see if somebody does that later on, but for now, let's check on the G-Force Racing teammates, and looks like both of them separately got beached on the guardrails. That's a very weird incident. You don't see that very often, especially two cars that may be from the same builder, but they're totally wildly different castings. Now for lap 2, it is all Australia. The two front row cars get a huge lead over the rest of the field. Giorgio and Christie get off the track this time. No guardrail's going to stop them, and caution is out for an El Reco. This time it is Christie barrel rolling and does not recover. That was an extremely close lap. Harry Hoon just got the advantage over Gaza there, and now Gaza gets a push from Hurts So Good to try and take away first place at the start. They are neck and neck again. This is lap number 3 of these two drivers, which I heard are pretty big rivals in their native Australia, and Harry Hoon just shows no mercy there, pushes Gaza off the track, trying to cause an El Reco, but doesn't. Gaza will need a miracle to win this. He'll be starting in the back. And the gates are down, and it looks like Gaza's goose is cooked. That's one of the heaviest Australian cars, and he gets caught up on the track. Now it is Elton Sawyer's turn to try and challenge Harry Hoon for the lead. But this is Harry freaking Hoon we're talking about, and he is making it tough on anybody that wants to try. And Giorgio and Elton Sawyer go flying. Elton Sawyer recovers. Hurts So Good hits Giorgio, causes the crash. Harry Hoon exits the track, and Gaza crosses the finish line on his wheels. Giorgio's on his side. That doesn't count. That's an El Reco for him. And we're going to slow this down. You see Harry Hoon leave on the backstretch. Giorgio goes off the track, goes back on. Gets pile drive by Hurts So Good. Flips over on his side, slows the whole track down, and they come crawling to a halt. Almost nobody crosses the line there until Gaza finally does. Since Harry Hoon stayed on the track longer, it'll be him in the third race and Elton Sawyer in the fourth race. And now it is time for segment number 4. And Burt Buzzard just launches himself out of the gate like he's friction activated among all these other cars. He's got a full track segment lead before he even gets into the turn. He's going to be really tough to beat. Bill Z. Bub beats the Owlman for second place there. And Bobby Allison goes flying, tumbles over, and recovers, but he's going to really need to shape up if he wants to have any chance of driving in the NASCAR Nitro Series in the future. That kind of behavior is just way too dangerous. And boy, is the Owlman slow. He's getting beat by a temporary driver there. I think I might have goofed picking that car for my team. He's already going from second to fourth, possibly worse. And caution is out. That's an El Reco. Bill Bub bins it now. He's banged up and busted. Bobby Allison goes flying, takes Coop with him. The Owlman actually moves back up to second here, and Tyler Bloodfish, the field filler, moves up to third. The identical casting to Harry Hoon. Completely stock out of some dude's basement. Now potentially fighting for a top 20 spot or better. Although beating Burt Buzzard is going to be really hard. So he hasn't had a lap yet in this segment where he hasn't led by less than a full track section. And nothing changes for him. Dominating lead. And Tyler Bloodfish moves up to second place. And this dude comes out of nowhere in a field filler car, dicing it up with the likes of Uncle Elvis and Mark D for a spot in the top 10. Burt Buzzard here, he's got a full car length lead before even exiting the ramp. The outside lanes put together their best effort so far to try and draft past him. And Tyler Bloodfish goes flying off the track. He gets shoved off the track by Bobby Allison, flips over multiple times. That's an El Reco for him, not surprising at all. If you've watched Lord Shank's videos, this channel's going to have a link in the description to check that out. Great content. Bobby Allison actually took my advice to heart and ends up in the seconds race. Great job for him. Now for the next segment, we have our Daytona 500 winner Heather lined up next to Charlie Verney. And Riot Isaac's behind them after his trip to the body shop. His car exploded during the seconds or thirds race last week, and behind them is teammate Baby Richie as well as Chef Squid and one of the field fillers. And Chef Squid takes a tumble but recovers. No change in the lineup at all for the second lap, and the front row gets a great start coming out of the gate. In fact, each of the 3 rows come off at separate times. It's almost like they're synchronizing this or something. And Heather has a car length and a half lead heading into the turns. And that's an El Reco for Heather. Caution is out. Charlie Verney plows into her as they cross the finish line, and that is an unfortunate early DNF. And Chef Squid can't keep his car on the track either. It'll be a 4-car segment the rest of this race. Just terrible luck for Heather, crashing from the inside lane. And now Charlie Verney is there to take advantage of this. And you have the Puff teammates on the outside looking to draft past him, looking to make something work here. And the inside just gets a great jump from the start. But Riot Isaac is catching up with Charlie Verney, and he's not making it easy. The two of them collide, and Charlie Verney ends up on his roof. He throws an aggressive block on Riot Isaac, and it totally backfires. That's the second wreck from the inside lane this segment. Now it is time for the final lap. This is Riot Isaac's race to lose. He jumps out to a car length lead before they even get to the bottom of the ramp. Make that a 2-3 car length lead. Riot Isaac on the inside lane. He's got a field filler and his teammate who struggles in qualifying behind him. And Riot Isaac will be making his first ever trip to the main event. What an impressive showing after exploding in the last race. Riot Isaac made a statement there. And now for the final segment, we have Lord Raymond and Puff on the front row, followed by Lucky Jackson and Casey Kane, Mike Honcho in the 97, and Rowdy Bush, one of the field fillers. And take a look at Casey Kane. He goes flying flips 5, 6, 7 times and somehow recovers. Rowdy Bush is not so lucky. An El Reco for him. He just clinched last place with that. Not just for the segment, but for the whole event. And now Casey Kane will be starting 3 rows deep. This should be a pretty epic battle between Lord Raymond, Lucky Jackson, and Mike Honcho gets a good start despite being on the outside row. Yes, it is. Lucky Jackson and Lord Raymond are side by side pulling away from everybody else. Lord Raymond gets a little bit of an advantage heading into the turn, and Lucky Jackson goes spinning off of the track. Cautions out, El Reco for Mike Honcho. Lucky Jackson does recover, but Mike Honcho not so lucky. That is the third team fully eliminated before the segment racing is even done. That is the third team totally eliminated before the segment racing is even done. They got shaked and they got baked, and if there's any silver lining, they got a little more time to prepare for next week. And Lucky Jackson starting lap 3 in the back. He'll need another miracle to get back to the front. Lord Raymond's been dominant in this segment so far. Casey Kane is now challenging Puff for second place, and Kane gets on 2 wheels there, but he recovers, blocks the other 2 drivers, and stays in second place for the final lap. And now it is the final lap before the 6th race, 5th race, and so on. Lord Raymond's led everyone so far. That casting got like the first 3 or 4 spots in the Lord Shank 500. After the T-Bird stalker dominated all of 2024 in both of our series. Raymond is just leaving them all in the dust. There is no contest here. Lucky Jackson goes flipping again. That, I think, is a record 8 times. I'm going to show this on the replay. Count him out. Lord Raymond, of course, wins the segment. Casey Kane takes second over Puff. And let's count that. That's 1 full flip, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Looks like it starts to slow down. He gets out of the camera view about here. I'm going to have to adjust the camera angle there, and it looks like it's an El Reco, but he miraculously falls back on his wheels at the last second. That is 8 total flips, and now it is time for the 4th and 5th race. In the front row, we have Po' Boy and Elton Sawyer. Lucky Jackson, that was not an El Reco. He'll be starting in 3rd. 3 of the Green Machine drivers who are here to just show off their football trophy to Jerry Jones. They'll be starting this race too. You might see them later on this season at the Crown Jewel events like Talladega and the Coca-Cola 600. And cautions out for the big one. Let's take a look at this slowdown. It starts when Po' Boy jumps the barrier in the turn, collects Lucky Jackson with him, and Coop just goes flying on his own trying to avoid the mess in front of him, and looks like Po' Boy's the only casualty from that. And Big Play finds that gap and picks off first. Now he has his 2 teammates drafting behind him. After starting the segment in last. And 3 teammates form a train. It's going to be tough to beat. And we saw that with Puffs Racing in the stock race. Big Play has a car length lead over Szechuan Broccoli and 3-4 car lengths over everybody else. Dominates here. Cautions out for an El Reco. Elton Sawyer at the last second trying to do something. His last-ditch Hail Mary backfires, and it is Big Play to the 3rd race. And that will be led by Harry Hoon. He's got the 90-gram Puff pushing him. Gavin McSplage and Big Play are in that lane. Owlman in the outside. Puff just stays glued to his bumper the whole time. They're going to be hard to beat in this segment. Gavin McSplage comes in 3rd there. It looks like William bins it coming out of the turn. His day is over. Now it's time for lap 2 of the thirds race. Now Gavin McSplage weighs about half as much as Puff does, but I don't think it really matters. Harry Hoon wants this. He wants to get into the seconds race, compete for a top 10. Gavin McSplage and Puff are side by side, and Puff's body separates from his car just like Riot Isaac. Gavin McSplage destroys Puff's car. The Owlman ends up on his roof too. That car's not even top heavy, but he crashes. Big play flies off the track. I know I brought out the replay camera quite a bit, but this is some epic stuff we're seeing here. Gavin McSplage weighs half as much as Puff's car, just body slams him with all his might. The body of Puff's car goes flying, and the chassis survives to cross the finish line. What an epic thirds race. And now it's time for the seconds race. Misty G jumps off to a huge lead over Casey Kane Gray and Hurts So Good. Have a field filler on the outside holding up Bobby Allison a bit. And what a clean race. Nobody crashes on lap 1. And now it is time for lap 2. The winner of this gets into the main event. And it is not going to be easy for anybody to pass Misty G. It looks like Bobby Allison has a little bit of a hiccup. Grinds along the guardrail. He'll be getting 13th place. The front 3 cars are spaced out pretty evenly. Harry Hoon passes Hurts So Good for that last spot in the top 10. And Gray almost catches up to Misty G. And Harry Hoon gets that final spot in the top 10. Hurts So Good and Elmo Langley, good runs for them not being full-time drivers. And let's take a look at this replay. Gray is in the row behind Misty G, almost catches up there after she gets squirrely coming out of the turn. She holds on by about half a car. What an epic series of placement races. And now it is time for the main event. On the front row, we have Gale Force and Burt Buzzard. Behind them, Lord Raymond and Clyde, Gaza, Riot Isaac, and our seconds race winner, Misty G. We got a great mix of teams, a great mix of drivers, a great mix of castings and Australian and American builders. And it is a tight pack heading into the turn. All these cars want it really bad. All these cars are fast, and caution is out for an El Reco. Burt Buzzard goes flying. Riot Isaac drives off the track to avoid him, hits the van, but stays on his wheels. Burt Buzzard, in the meantime, flips over 4 times, and I think he does it once when he's in the air. Doesn't even hit the ground the first time. Would you look at that? Gale Force holds on to the lead. Lord Raymond moves up to second. And both of them will have the heaviest cars in the series drafting on them going into lap 2. As Misty G moves up to third, Clyde is in second, and they have Riot Isaac also in the outer row. That's a pretty heavy car as well. And Gaza gets caught up on the guardrail. The front 4 cars are in a pretty tight pack heading out of the gate and into the turn. Both Gale Force and Lord Raymond having really heavy cars, 90 plus grams as pushers. Caution is out. El Reco, the outer lane, gets completely destroyed on that lap. Clyde is out. Lord Raymond's out. We've seen this happen at Daytona and Talladega, never before at Texas, though. Clyde got a little too aggressive with the bump drafting. Eliminates that whole row, and while they had a good points day, they're in the main event. Clyde and Lord Raymond, they must be kicking themselves that they're not going to get the win here. They're not even going to get on the podium because there are still 4 cars in the contest. Now headed down the track for lap 3, we have both Barora Bangers and 2 cars for Puffs Racing, and they are diagonal from each other. We have Riot Isaac pushing Gale Force to a huge lead, 3 car lengths over the next driver heading into the turn. And Gaza jumps out of the turn, Dukes a Hazard style, rolls on his roof, flips himself over at the very last second. El Reco for Misty G, she is out of the race. I'll definitely be ordering some fencing from JLH Crafts or Slandman before that track section's used again for Pocono week 9 or week 10, whenever that's going to be. And now the final lap starts. Riot Isaac is on an island, got the Barora Bangers teammates on the inside to draft right past him. Gale Force and Gaza bumper to bumper heading into the turn. Gale Force gets a little squirrely there, able to hold off Gaza for the win. Gale Force is your winner. The Barora Bangers' first ever main event results in a 1-2 finish with Riot Isaac. You got to give him props after literally blowing up on the track, gets his car fixed, and gets a podium. And now we're going to take a look at the rest of the race results. Misty G gets 4th place. I believe she'll have the points lead after this is all counted. Lord Raymond gets another top 5. Burt Buzzard and Harry Hoon, pretty consistent cars so far. Pretty good runs for the part-timers, Elmo Langley and Hurts So Good. Bobby Allison gets 13th, gets into the seconds race after starting off a little shaky. Gavin McSplage, a great run for him. Po' Boy in 24th, the last car that didn't El Reco. during the segment racing, and while it might have looked violent, that means 2/3 of the cars actually finished the segments. That's pretty good. We got Rowdy Bush in last place. Chef Squid last among the full-time drivers in points with that showing. And let's take a look at the points while we're here. Misty G with 335 points, top fives in both events, is your points leader. Gale Force and Clyde both tied at 330. 5-point battle separating the top three with 10 races to go, 2 races in. Lord Raymond, Riot Isaac, Harry Hoon, and Burt Buzzard. Heather, your Daytona 500 winner, in 8th after that crash. Gaza and Gray round out your top 10. And here's the next tier of drivers trying to push their way into the top 10. Puff's not too far behind. William, big drop-off down to Casey Kane. Po Boy, Bill Z Bub, the Owlman. Gavin McSplage moved up quite a few spots after wrecking in the Daytona 500. And here we have the guys that missed the 500. Guys that only competed in one race, the part-timers. A lot of these guys you won't see next week. Because we have 3 different sets of field fillers, they'll be alternating in every 3rd race. And that is all for Texas Motor Speedway this year. Remember to hit that like button, leave a comment. If you haven't already, subscribe. If you want to send your cars to this channel, send it to HSL Diecast, P.O. Box 7, Wing Gap, PA. Thanks to all the awesome builders that sent their cars in already for making this thing possible. We'll see you guys out there on the track.